The truth of scientific truths is, according to science itself, rather approximate than relative. This is what is considered their essential difference in relation to all other, that means non-scientific judgments. So the history of natural science before the discovery of Thomas Kuhn's paradigms was like one road with different points closer or further from a final goal. And the fact that some thinkers in history like Nicholas of Cusa, Semon and Charles Peirce pointed to the practical impossibility of completing the development of science has in fact not changed so much since then. Natural science is still commonly considered the only guide to more true knowledge of the real state of affairs. Classification of various phenomena plays a central role in science, but how is it possible to define objectively that something is to be regarded as more similar in a rational classification? The question is related to the possibility of a uniquely defined and at the same time defining perspective. The fundamental question is accordingly, what are we guided by when choosing perspective? Is there a basis on which we give it exclusive authority, or is it simply predefined? There are, for example, frequent changes of scientific classification in different phenomena in the surrounding nature during history of Western natural science. But where is the guarantee in such cases that a new basis is more objective than the previous one? Is a genetically based definition, for example, more objective than a definition made from external features? One may answer that genetics has the advantage that it's being introduced into the field of chemistry, referring to the fact that chemistry would be a more precise science than biology. But after all scientific classification depends on scientific criteria of similarity and difference, which are created with scientific unambiguity. But this does not mean that scientific classification leaves eternal traces in its fields of research. Scientific definitions change as scientific methods and tools progress. One thing remains more or less the same at the same time, and that is the belief that these changes are only due to the application of an unshakable, self-contained principle of scientific criteria. And the principles of scientific criteria themselves are, however, not scientific criteria, and are accordingly not subject to change when underlying changes of scientific definitions and classification take place. So, the very basis of scientific criteria defies description, and thereby it is better protected from the volatility of the results of future scientific definitions, being immersed in an apophatic darkness of complete incomprehensibility in relationship to its own research. So it turns out finally that the basis of scientific criteria is as elusive as the Platonic idea of ideas.